I see that, and I see that with people around me, but my experience has been completely different, where I didn't go to university originally. I didn't go, coaching was the first time I attended university in my late 30s. I didn't finish in Canada, what we call in Montreal, CEGEP. So high school is where I and then a bit of mingling in certifications here and there, but I stopped education. So my experience is coming from lived experience. My experience is coming from trauma, is coming from discomfort, is coming from putting myself out there in moments where I'm not qualified and still achieving and still arriving. I arrived in that high six-figure job, not because of my academia. I arrived in that because of my grit, my resilience, my drive, and being able to set a goal and want it so badly and go for it. And so I kind of did it the other way.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I have Natasia Schumacher, founder of Shift and Play, who builds internal capacity for self-leadership in high performance, but not the surface level confidence or productivity hacks you might expect. She focuses on real capacity that holds under pressure, regulates when stakes are high, and allows you to think clearly, feel fully, and act intentionally. Her own journey includes high-level corporate roles, including businesses, completing ultra-marathons, and rebuilding her life through recovery. As a PCC certified coach and EQI 2.0 practitioner, Natasia integrates emotional intelligence, nervous system regulation, and embodied practice. She partners with leaders, founders, and high performance who are ready to stop outsourcing their power and start taking radical responsibility for their internal state. Welcome to the show, Natasia.
Thank you, Pedro. What an introduction.
Yes. Well, I can only blame you. Now, it's great to have you. I'm excited from the day we met, and I always like to backtrack a little, rewind a bit, because every coach has that moment where they look at their life and say, yeah, I guess this is what I'm doing now, right? So when was that for you?
Yeah, what was that for me? My introduction to coaching started really, really early. I think as early as the age of 16, the concept of coaching was brought into my life through my dad. And so that had always been a thread of understanding the power that we have if we change our belief system, and the power that we have if we change the relationship to ourselves, and that we have the power to change that relationship. But I never knew that coaching would be the career path that I would take. But I knew of its existence early on. And so it only came into my viewpoint in the last 4 years as a career. So before that, I was building my career in visual effects and really working hard for this definition of success that I held dear to me, which was high paying salary, high 6-digit, high stature title. It was really everything I knew and wanted in my life then. And so I worked really hard to get it. And in my late 30s, I arrived at that point. Really nice title, really comfortable salary, and thinking it was going to be this climactical moment. Sat in that moment and felt incredibly empty, actually. And that was a moment in conjunction with the birth of my daughter, where I just was forced to hold a mirror up to myself and say, what am I doing here? The impact I'm leaving on the world. Is this the legacy I'm leaving with my daughter? Feeling completely burnt out and exhausted mentally, emotionally drained, physically not taking care of my body or not tuning into it at all. So, 3 years ago, I really began to look at my life in a really deep way and get honest with myself, and chose to go back to university in my late 30s. Started in a coaching program, a 9-month program. And 3 months into that program, I said, you know what? Goodbye, career. That is not success. Goodbye, high 6-figure salary. That is not success. And I took the time to define it, redefine it, and coaching and following coaching as a career and as a business became, my North Star. And here came the birth of Shift and Play, where I get to just live waking up in the morning feeling satisfied and living this new definition of success where I feel aligned mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Wow, what a journey. I love that you reinvented yourself at your 30s, right? Yep, I can still learn something new. I can still try something new. I love that. If the path is not ideal for you, let's change it, right?
Mm.
And I know it sounds simple and easy. It's not at all. I get it. And I want to understand one thing, okay?
Yeah.
Because in the early days for coaching, there's a lot of trial and error. So I want to understand from when did it happen, the shift, from I'm helping people to what? I'm building a real business around this. I'm building Shift and Play around this, how that came to fruition.
Yeah, there's a whole process behind that. In my experience, the vision of Shift and Play and the knowing of the impact I wanted to make, I could feel that and I knew it. It was clear. But my mind, it took time to catch up to this is actually something and this is a business and this is scalable and this is working. And so the shift actually came from doing the work. So I feel like when I started in coaching, I did a lot of pro bono work. I started working with clients for free, trying to figure out and also learning who I am as a coach and understanding what that experience was like. And it was only through experiencing coaching and doing coaching, the very thing I was learning to do and not ready to do, that I became a coach, that my business became a business. And so the shift is about doing the thing before you actually know how to do the thing and really leaning into that discomfort until you start to see it concretely form. It was a really powerful process.
It's about putting in the reps too, right?
Exactly.
Experiencing what coaching looks like from a coach perspective and not just from a coachee. Because when you're getting your certification, sometimes you have contact with a coach and you're learning from it, but it's different when you have to serve as a coach. So I get that 100%. Interesting that you started with pro bono. Also, I would highlight that. Now, I want you to dive in a little bit because I'm a bit curious about the name, Shift and Play. Can you expand on that? I want to understand what's that all about.
Yeah, there's different takes on it, but the main take on it is that everyone has the ability to shift their mindset. No matter what they're working on, you have the ability to shift your mindset. And so that's the shift. And then the play is about taking intentional action. We go through life on autopilot. Most of us don't even realize it, reacting to life, reacting to our circumstances, reacting to the conditions. And when you begin to play life, you begin to take intentional action, conscious choice. And so to do that, you need to shift your mindset. And then you get to play the game of your choosing, play life. And then there's the other version of it too. A lot of my business has to do with movement and tuning into the body and getting playful and understanding that. So putting yourself in movement, in play and enjoying it rather than being, again, dare I say, a victim to it. Start having fun. We've got one life. Let's go.
It's a different lens, especially the play, since you felt like you were not having fun at your corporate job, right? I need a different lens. I need to see this, and I may be tripping here. Natasia, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You're looking at this from a different perspective. It's like a new career, and I want people to experience the same thing I did. Something like that.
Yeah, similarly, or the power that everyone has the power to do this. And it doesn't have to be a massive career change. It doesn't have to be a massive life shift. It can be something as simple of your relationship, which is not so simple, but the relationship that you have towards yourself or the way you view a problem or a challenge that you're facing. If you can just shift the perspective that you're looking at it and then take intentional action rather than reacting to it, everything can transform.
Now, after you got rolling, right? Who are the people that kept showing up? The ones you realize, okay, these are my people. This is my tribe. And I'm not saying you need to niche down or anything like that. I just trying to understand if eventually you got in that place that you had a niche or not and how that worked out, because in the early days for coaching, they're just trying to help people. Right. So I'm not sure if you went through that or how that's play out in your business right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just walk through that process a bit. When you start in a business and coaching, it's really hammered into you. The world kind of tells you need to have a niche, you need to have a target. And for me, that experience felt like a lot of pressure, especially because, as I mentioned before, a lot of my discovery in coaching and the business of coaching was putting myself out there before knowing exactly what I'm doing. And I feel like that was so important to do. So to serve everyone, to see what lands, what sticks, what feels most aligned and where you make most impact is a part of the process of landing a target and landing a niche, especially if you're not clear on it from the beginning. So I did serve everyone. I did take on everyone. And yes, over time, I think it's actually nearing the 2-year mark that I was like, I'm seeing a trend. Concretely, I'm seeing a trend. And now I can really confidently say who I serve most and where I make the biggest impact or where I experience it with my clients most. And that tends to be women in their 30s, 40s, high performing. So they know how to achieve goals. They know how to, go out there, get it. On the outside, they have everything together on paper. Everything looks great. They know how to show up to the world and look good. And everyone thinks it's good. But internally, they may be feeling a little bit fragmented, disconnected, misaligned. And my work isn't about helping them achieve more. My clients know how to do that. And they have the self-awareness to know how to do that. But they also have the self-awareness to realize that perhaps they don't know how to hold what they're achieving. They don't know how to internally hold the life that they want to build. And that's where my work lies with them.
Okay. It's interesting that it took you 2 years. And we're talking about the reps. We're talking about trends.
Yeah.
It's part of a process. It's not like you wake up one day and you say, you know what? I'm going to have X, Y, and Z. I love how organic and how natural it ends up being with your situation. Now, let's talk about the part nobody escapes, right? Marketing. So how do those women, the high achievers, they usually find you?
Marketing is a bit of a sensitive spot because it's where I am right now. It's something I need to look into. But so far, 2 years now, my business has been built directly on relationships and high-end touch points. So Shift and Play isn't just coaching. It has a movement practice to it. It also has workshops to it. So I've built different touch points where I can build direct relationships with people that then enter through that touch point to coaching. So that's number one. And then number two is the trust and relationship building. A lot of my coaching clients come from conversation. So it's having a moment with them where we bring them into the work and the idea of the work and transform that into a client. So they get to experience it through conversation, and that's through relationships. So trust and relationship building, two skills that I had to lean into. Coming to a point now where I recognize if I want to scale, that's not going to be enough and I can't do it alone.
Yeah. So let's talk business for a second. You mentioned several touch points. It sounds like your main goal is to serve and not sell, right? You're trying to help them, which naturally ends up being through an engagement that eventually could be turning into a paid client, but not necessarily. So let's say people find you, okay? They resonate with your work, or eventually they want to know what working with you actually looks like, because everyone builds their coaching business a bit differently, right? So when someone actually becomes a client, one of those high achiever women, what does that experience look like right now from their perspective?
Yeah. So we have a 30-minute conversation, if not 45 minutes. And we just really explore why they're looking into coaching or why our conversations are resonating with them. And from there, we really define what success would look like together. What I found, and for anyone starting their business, if you don't have clarity on what a client wants to work on, then the rest of the partnership really loses a bit of traction. You really need to hold that container from the get-go. And from that moment, if it feels aligned for both, then we move into a 6-month partnership, meaning every 2 weeks, virtual or in person. So I offer both options. And it's a high touch point, meaning there's also opportunity for touch points between those 2 weeks, should that be requested. But usually 6 months container every 2 weeks.
Okay, and I'm going to highlight you're in Canada, Montreal, since you mentioned in person. So if anyone's listening, that's where she's located. Now, your work seems pretty hands-on, and you mentioned this, right? You mentioned you cannot do it alone if you're trying to scale. So how do you think about capacity so you don't stretch yourself too thin, for example?
Yeah. I feel like that's a really wide question when it comes to business and not being able to scale this alone. Okay. If I focus on that, again, another discovery, and I feel like even a lot of my peer coaches have experienced this as well. But in the coaching, there's two parts. There's the service, being of service, the human side of it, in doing the work of coaching. And then there's a whole other part, which is really, I feel 70 to 80% of the business. It's the business side of coaching, relationship building, networking, marketing, follow-ups. And that piece is often not spoken about enough and takes a lot of capacity, especially if you are so focused of wanting to make impact, right? It takes away from the impact you want to make because you want to be so focused there. It's recognizing that, I mean, I can very personally say, and I said it already today, but 2 years in that if I want to stay where I am, I can stay where I am. But if I want to scale and I want to make a larger impact, I need to recognize that business part, although I'm very good at it, scaling it, I need to outsource a little bit, and outsourcing will be the key to that.
Yeah, you kind of knew why I asked, right? Because coaches in this industry, they are wearing all the hats, right? And they don't, more often than not, they don't realize the business side of things. So they're sometimes pushing, let's stop with the burnout, and they're burning out themselves. So that's a really tricky question. And the reason I asked this is because it's so easy to follow, because coaching at the end of the day is like a passion project too. So it's so easy to, forget about all the stuff because you're so passionate about what you're doing. And then sometimes you're working too much and you're getting yourself burned out. And so that's one of the reasons I ask. I think you're currently in the eye of the hurricane. Like, you're setting up your foot at a very good sweet spot, like you mentioned. But at the same time, if you want to impact more people, which it sounds like you want, you're going to have to outsource, right? So it's just a powerful reminder overall. I like to have our coaches, our listeners, and people looking for coaches to understand that piece. Now, that being said, I'm curious, and you kind of mentioned about scaling. So where are you taking all this shift and play? Looking ahead, where do you see the business going? Are you thinking about really leveraging what you already have? Are you trying to build a team? Or is there a next step you're excited about,
Yeah, if I kind of use this visioning question of like, where do I see myself in 1 to 5 years taking this? One thing that always comes to mind, and I can feel it in my body and my heart, is larger audiences, really scaling this to larger audience as well. And so that's speaking engagements, getting involved in speaker engagements where I can bring this work to a larger audience at one touch point. That's number one. Number two, bringing someone in the team is something really important to me. That hopefully within the next 1 to 3 years, if not 1 to 2 years, is the next step, having someone to take on a few mandates as well and help with the business development. And I think that those are the main things. So scaling, owning my marketing fully, so full visibility in what I do, and that comes in the speaking engagements and outsourcing, and an employee to help with business development.
Yes, I can see the vision. Interesting. Now, of course, and you kind of also mentioned it. This is so funny. Whenever we're aiming towards the next chapter, there's always something we're working on, right? And it feels like the marketing bit is really what's the hot topic right now. But what are you trying, to currently improve or tighten up in your business?
Yeah, it's a challenge I really, really face, is that now that I've narrowed myself down to who I serve, what I do, I have enough data. Like, it's not abstract, it's visible data and track data within the clients I've served, the impact I make. There's confidence in that transformation. It's now marketing a very human service that for me feels incredibly vulnerable. And so to sell it and become public as selling it is uncomfortable for me. And that is my biggest challenge right now. If I'm being really honest with myself, is taking something that feels so human and so close to the heart and putting a price tag to it publicly and becoming so visible, it's unmistaken. It's scary. It really is scary.
I can see where you're coming from. I've already shared this in the podcast. I was a high ticket sales closer for a landscape business coach for almost 3 years. And if I could add something, okay, it's like, I think it's the notion we have about the word selling. Mm-hmm. We had this bad experiences about people pushing us through something we don't really want. But the correct framing and the terminology would be serving. That's what tied up with selling. If you're serving someone, you're coming from a place that you're not trying to push your agenda. You're trying to help them instead, which could be a referral for someone that can actually help them. So the way I see it, and that's just my personal view, the way we frame things, right? It's like coaching. Sometimes we talk with people, and I talk like in the calls I had people thinking that when I was mentioning coaching, we're going to light up some candles. We're going to dance the kumbaya. Not really what happens. So it's about a misconception. They have an understanding of what coaching or selling means. And sometimes that's icky, right? We have like, I don't sell or I don't want to do coaching, but that's just my point of view. Nobody has to agree with that. Okay. I just felt like sharing because I felt like that in my skin too. When I started with selling, I was like, really?
Yeah. I think that reframe is really powerful. You're not selling, you're serving. So it's not who am I selling to, it's who am I serving. And just that, it feels a little bit lighter and understandable. It's really helpful, Pedro.
Yeah. Now,
I think so.
I'm just thinking out loud to be candid. Now, I want to switch gears for a second and do something a bit more fun. If you're down for it, I got a quick game for you. Not that this was not fun. It's just a bit different. Okay.
Okay, let's go.
We'll look at this through the lens of business investments. Things like coaching, training, marketing, team, mastermind, you name it. Okay. It's pretty simple. I'll give you 4 prompts and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind. If there's a story behind it, even better. So what's the first business investment you remember making?
At the age of 16, Landmark Forum, without even knowing it was investing in my business, personal development.
I love that. Personal development.
Yeah, I really feel as a coach, if you are thinking about bringing a client through a certain type of work and you haven't done the work yourself, that becomes very challenging. A good coach has done the work themselves. A good coach knows how to go into those depths. So for me, those personal development courses that I've done are exactly why I can serve the people I serve and I can bring them into those kind of transformations because I've done it. So best investment ever. And I'll continue to invest there always.
Okay. Second, what's the most recent one you made?
Most recent one I made was the International Coaching Federation, ICF, becoming a member to that and getting certified in that. So applying my hours and making sure I'm recognized as a PCC level coach, giving me a certain level of accreditation to go into businesses. PCC level coaching is really the standard when you're being hired into executive coaching, leadership coaching, and things like that. So that was the most recent.
Okay, I got to ask something. Because I've seen coaches going through that route. And I want to ask you this.
Yes.
Do you feel, if you had to choose, okay, you have to choose, would you take, I feel what's most important is like the PCC terminology and all of that, having the title or going through the journey without the title, if you had to choose?
Going through the journey.
Okay. Why do you think that's the case?
Because it is experience. It's doing the thing, So I've done so much personal work on this myself, this idea of academia versus life, this idea of, IQ versus emotional intelligence. There's this construct that you need to have some kind of stamp to mean you're legit or valid. But that's all it is. It's a construct that some people go by, some people look for. But the fact is you can show up and have that label on you and still, excuse my language, a really shitty coach. I said it, sorry. But,
no worries.
and you're not going to get hired again. You're not going to get referrals. It stops there. But if you have the experience, you have the depth, you've gone through the process, you understand the process, those referrals, people will talk about you. The impact you left, that's the legacy. And most people in coaching care about people, care about service. And so, or that's an assumption, but I would hope.
At academia, you mentioned, I had that feeling like I'm never ready. I'm always trying to validate self to myself, which is kind of weird. It's like there's never a time that I felt like I was ready. You're always having to take action at a certain point. And I had people in my own family, they're like, it's not a problem to be always studying. That's not the issue here. It's like hiding behind stuff. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like people sometimes they're like, he's studying for like 15 years, never hit the job market, or it's always in that same spot that it's like, I'm always improving. Yeah, but really, you had to put in the work, right?
Yeah. Well, I see that, and I see that with people around me, but my experience has been completely different where I didn't go to university originally. I didn't go, coaching was the first time I attended university in my late 30s. I didn't finish in Canada, what we call in Montreal, CEGEP. So high school is where I and then a bit of mingling in certifications here and there, but I stopped education. So my experience is coming from lived experience. My experience is coming from trauma, is coming from discomfort, is coming from putting myself out there in moments where I'm not qualified and still achieving and still arriving. I arrived in that high six-figure job, not because of my academia. I arrived in that because of my grit, my resilience, my drive, and being able to set a goal and want it so badly and go for it. And so I kind of did it the other way around and didn't hide behind academia. However, I had to get over a lot of insecurity, self-doubt, feelings of not being good enough because of the lack.
I love that. Okay. We need to find a time machine so I can introduce you to past Pedro. Great. Now, third, let's move forward because I'm going to get into a rabbit hole here, Natasia. What's the best financial business investment you have made and why?
The best financial business investment and why? The Concordia school that I did. That's it. I'm being honest here, Pedro, that when it comes to since I've launched my business, my investments have been minimal. It's been my website. It's been, personal development programs here and there. But the best one or the one that kicked me off, and crazily enough, because we just talked about academia versus no academia, but that schooling and knowing that this was a business I could build and something I could do and feeling so aligned in it, and it wasn't cheap, was the best business investment, which was 2 years ago.
Okay. Last but
Am
not
I not
least.
giving you the answer you need, Pedro?
Oh, there is no right or wrong answer here. It's you by you. It's Natasia by
Yeah.
Natasia. I think it's great. I'm just thinking, no, it is it's coming from you and from your heart. So it is the right answer. I can tell you right off the bat. Last but not least, what's one investment you wish you could get your money back on?
Oh, you flipped it there. What's one investment I wish I could get my money back on? I don't have one.
Okay. I like that.
I see how you did that, Pedro.
What did I do? Oh my God.
Every investment's a good investment. You need to put money in to be successful. Let me conclude that for you. It's really important to invest. And it brings me back to what I was saying before. I think whatever business you're building, you can be alone in that business and you can go white knuckle it all the way through and like survive it and exhaust yourself and burn yourself out. But there comes a point that if you want to take it to the next level, you do need to invest, and investing has a big return. And you do that where you do that. That's an individual response, but that's where I am. And yes.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. There's another rep. I'll put it like that. Well, coaching is not cheap, right? Usually not cheap. It's a high ticket offer. Usually we're talking about in the thousands, right? 3K, 5K, really depends. It's all over the place right now. So I think if you invested in a high ticket offer yourself as a coach too, you know the feeling, it's like, and you're going to know what bad looks like and what good looks like from the perspective of a client. So you have that. And when we're asking that from a client, I think it levels the playing field. It's like, I would say that is not a bad investment, but at least you know what bad looks like. Even if it was a bad one, let's call it, but with low ROI, kind of sucked. But yeah, at least was part of the learning experience, right? We're aligned on that. Now, looking at those, Natasia, how has your approach to investing in the business changed over the years, if it has,
My approach to investing, well, it's just coming to a point, recognize that I need to invest. And you just pointed something out that I do want to add on to, is that having a coach is necessary. In the last 2 years, from the moment I was in coaching school to get that certification, I have never left having a coach, always. And if I didn't pay for it, I had a peer coach. I bartered. And coaching and being involved in that process and going through your own supervision of what you're feeling within your coaching practice too, is so necessary, because this role is also very isolating. Being a coach can be isolating. And so to experience it is important, and to be supervised in it, it's important. So yeah, what is my relationship to investing is I need to do it.
That's such a powerful reminder, having a coach. I thank you for sharing that. And the reason I do that is because at the end of the day, I feel like we got to practice what we preach, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you're pushing through self-investing or investing yourself and all of that, which makes perfect sense to expedite the curve, the learning curve, you already went through the pitfalls, so you can help them with your clients with that, your coaches. It's only fair someone does the same to you. And I can tell from personal experience, that's actually very powerful. I love that. And if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, Natasia, where can people find you and connect with you?
Yeah, they can check out my website, www.shiftandplay.com. They can also check out Instagram. It's Coach Natasia, one word. And those are the two main ways. There is an option also to sign up for my newsletter, which keeps you in direct contact through the website, through anything that's upcoming, any updates, and even some personal challenges that I'm facing and working with a coach that I have. So I'm just all about honest sharing and connecting. So those are the three areas.
Okay. There were a few things you shared today that really stayed with me. I'll put it like that. I think it's the vulnerability piece. I think that's the thing I need to highlight. Oh, you told me you were feeling empty. You told me you had that imposter syndrome because you didn't have the academia background and you're second guessing yourself. You told me you want to create a legacy for your daughter, and that even when you overcame that imposter syndrome and my worth with the six-figure job that you landed, you're like, yeah, this is not it, So I think the vulnerability piece is a key asset for a true coach. I'll put it like that. And the reminder you made, going, to life on autopilot, it feels like sometimes people, they have this surface level answer about their goals, right? It's like they're following someone else's playbook. They're chasing the new car, the new house, whatever, the new thing, but they're not really thinking about intention. What's behind it? So peeling off those layers, I think it's crucial to actually help someone, especially in the coaching space. Now, I love how you told me you're not qualified, but still achieving, and all of that piece about your background. So, Natasia, this is my long-winded way of saying that I appreciate what you do. And I appreciate you being here and sharing so openly today. It was great having you on.
Thank you, Pedro. It was wonderful speaking with you. And thank you for the powerful reframe of we're not selling, we're serving.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.